Wonderful. So, ladies and gentlemen, or ladies that have joined our homegrown 2020 series today, I am really excited. I am joined with Geraldine Tew, or Tew, as you'll
Yeah.
see, and we'll talk about, I will refer to you as that, I'm sure you do as well. But to give you a little bit of a short intro, so Jer is the mother of three. She's also the kids sports coach, which I'm interested to know more about what that's all about. And also the founder of the Recreators. So the Recreators is a social enterprise based in Auckland, New Zealand. It promotes upcycling either through purchasing products pre-made, custom made, or by learning to do it yourself through DIY workshops, which we're going to hear all about that shortly. But before we do, thank you again so much for joining me as part of our homegrown championing of change and inspiring women to lead series. As I mentioned to you earlier, it's been a really well received series so far, and I really appreciate the time and energy that you're putting into joining me today. So thank you so much. So without further ado, I'll hand it all over to you. And to get started, I guess I'd love to know, or we'd all love to know a little bit about yourself, not only with the Recreators, but I guess, you know, your life itself, and then how Recreators kind of came about.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Jer, commonly mispronounced. I'm originally from Ireland, and I came here 19 years ago as a backpacker. I had previously worked for PwC in London, and so a manager that I had been working with in London basically got me a working visa and a job here. So I was backpacking in Australia and came over. So I'm married with three kids. I think that when I was traveling through Australia, having been in a very corporate job, I don't know, something changed in me when I traveled through Australia, something spiritual, or I don't know. I came away thinking that I didn't want to work in the corporate world anymore, and that I wanted to use my time working to do good in some way, shape, or form. So either environmental or social. And so I didn't spend very long in PwC when I got to New Zealand, and I quit and I got a job with Auckland Council, and I worked in environmental compliance. So probably 20 years ago, I've always kind of been very environmentally focused. Think there are issues, God, so many different types of issues about water quality, overfishing, deforestation, degradation of soil, over consumerism, the list goes on. So I've always kind of felt those issues. And then I left the council and ended up working kind of randomly in the area of human rights. So I worked in the Refugee and Protection Unit for Immigration New Zealand, which is now part of the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment. And I did that for 14 years. And I worked in lots of different areas. So I worked in refugee determination with asylum seekers. I worked in fraud. And I spent the last 5 years working in settlement. So really understanding the needs of people that before they arrive, when they arrive, how to introduce them to New Zealand, and then their journey in their first year, 3 years, 5 years, what that looks like currently and how we can help them. And so that gave me a really good insight into, I suppose, vulnerable communities. And it also allowed me to work in lots of different areas within government. So, you know, I could work with education, health, English language, driver training. I did lots of different things. So then I decided after 14 years that I would do something on my own. I was very interested in the idea of social enterprise. And so decided to leave and set up my own, combining both my work in human rights and in environmental protection, and kind of merge it together to make an upcycle collective.
Yeah, wow. So what a background, first and foremost, what a journey that has all been, and to get to the point where you are now. I guess, can you tell us a little bit more about the Recreators? Like, obviously I gave it a bit of an intro, but can you tell us more about the business itself and, you know, the amazing people that you help through what you do with yourself and your team?
Yeah, so currently the Recreators, our main income at the moment is actually through workshops. So initially when I set up the Recreators, I wanted it to be a digital platform where we could sell goods made by anybody and everybody throughout New Zealand, and it would allow people from all different backgrounds, you know, and particularly vulnerable communities, or people who just want to work 2 hours a week or 5 hours a week, to work from home and be able to sell something. And that failed straight away because online sales, as you probably know, is very hard. And so I quickly decided that in order to create a sustainable business, I'd move maybe into the more educational side of things. So I have worked over the years doing training, both internally and externally, for various different audiences. So it didn't really seem that much of a leap to just change it to workshops. And that has taken off. That is, you know, it seems to be what the community wants. The community are interested. I feel that a lot of people have lost their maker skills, that the educational curriculum in primary schools has changed quite a lot since my childhood, where we would have learned knitting and sewing and crocheting quite regularly, whereas now kids do different things. I don't think it's that there's anything wrong. I think, you know, kids in New Zealand do an awful lot more sport than maybe we did in Ireland, or they do science in school, which, you know, we didn't do that in primary school. So so anyway, the income is around workshops. It's working with the community, and then I have a mixture of between 10 and 15 people in the community. Mostly they're mothers, they're part-time mothers, and so when I get a booking in for a particular workshop, then I just slot everybody in, basically depending on what the event is, their skills and their availability. And so I'd say the majority of people who work in the collective get as much work as they want, and then they are paid well, you know what I mean? Like we pay decent wages for those.
Yeah, I was reading
and advocate a living wage.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
So am I correct in saying that if I was a skilled arts and crafter, which I'm not, but if I was, I would be hosting these workshops as part of the Recreator, and people would come in and they would learn from me, and then you know, obviously people pay, and then the person who is hosting the workshop gets a percentage or living wage or whatever it may be out of running it. And then of course, you know, the Recreators, that's how the business model, and then you earn a profit off that too. Yeah, wonderful. So what an amazing...
exactly.
Yeah.
And when we say the living wage, for somebody, like, I don't pay the living wage, I pay more, and if not double that, because they're contractors and they don't have holiday leave. Like, the living wage is for somebody who works 40 hours a week or 37 and a half, and they get their holiday pay, and they get their sick leave, and all those benefits that you get when you're a full-time employee. Because I'm dealing with contractors, then they get paid more. And I advocate that out when I'm pricing it out. I make my pricing very clear about how I pay for people who come in and run these, because they're only working a few hours and they don't get any of these other benefits. So
amazing. I love it. What a great idea, and what a great way to be able to use people's skills and also to learn something new off that. It's great. So I guess, how long has the Recreators been, I guess, around for now?
Just a year. So
congratulations.
So we celebrated our first anniversary at the end of November. So just a year old. And really, when we started last year, because it was just heading into Christmas, it was really just a launch and then a break.
Yes.
You know, I spent more time before the launch trying to get it launched and understanding what the business model would be, which initially failed, and getting the website and understanding myself how to do marketing, all the things that I've never learned, like marketing and SEO and website design and everything that goes with it. So I kind of think that we really didn't start till about February in terms of delivering workshops.
Yeah, fantastic. So you have no doubt enjoyed a really great, you know, experience, as we all do in our first 12 months of business. Number one, we get to, as you highlighted, we get to learn that we don't know anything what we're doing. We have to relearn it all. And you did mention, I guess, you know, that one of your challenges would have been that you had a concept, it didn't work first off, and you had to pivot to find a way, you know, to be able to grow the business. But I guess aside from that, has there been any other really big challenges that you have kind of faced over the last 12 months?
I think the biggest challenge for me is maybe the lack of funding or the lack of skills. You know, I think I feel like I was a bit deluded going into it, thinking, oh yeah, it's a great idea, somebody will help fund me, and you know, people will see the brilliance of it and will help me along the way. And And that has been true to some degree. So definitely Help Tank, I really love. It's a platform of professionals who do donate their services to social enterprises and charities, has been absolutely amazing. But by and large, no funding. You have to fund it yourself. You have to learn the skills yourself to begin with, because you can't really afford to pay anybody else to do them, because obviously that's the cost of living in New Zealand is so high that everybody's hourly rate is high, and therefore, it's kind of unaffordable. So having to learn to build a website myself, having to learn SEO, having to learn marketing. I'm not a marketer. Having to learn graphic design, having to learn, oh my God, there's so many things that you have to learn from scratch. So the time that goes into all of that has been quite challenging. And then getting the business model right, really, again, I was a bit deluded. You think that you're going to launch sales online and everybody's going to buy, and then you do it, and then you sit there and you go, oh, this is actually hard. This is really hard. People do not come running to you with wads of money in their hand going, I will give you money for. So, you have to really work hard, and you have to really network hard to try and get those customers to come in.
Yep. I think that this is a really real fact that you have just brought up, is that, we probably are, I was naive as well, and I'm sure many others are, that start a business going, oh, how hard can it be? I actually think that were the words that came out of my mouth.
Yeah.
And you very quickly learn that it can be very challenging, because not only are you, trying to drive the business and obviously pivot when you need to, or worry about the business model from a long-term vision point of view, but then you're wearing all the hats as well, and having to learn a lot of the hats that come with it. And it can absolutely be very overwhelming to start with. And and I know that some people find that too overwhelming, and obviously decide that it's not for them from that point. And then there are others that kind of push through and see a light at the end of their tunnel along the way. So, and funding for all businesses can be really challenging in that first kind of period, especially as you're building up your brand and doing all your networking and getting people to know about you to start to see the return. So it's a very real challenge, which I appreciate you sharing with us all. So, you've just kind of highlighted that a lot of work, time, energy has gone into starting a new business. Now you also have a family and a life, I assume, as well. So how do you go about managing all of this?
You should add into the fact that I also live on 5 acres of weeds.
Wow, there you go.
So that also is, my garden has suffered, I will say. My veggie garden has definitely been the victim of all of this. So I tend to, like, on a day-to-day basis, like I pick up and drop my kids. So I tend to work 9 to 3, and if they have an activity, I bring them to it. And if I can, I bring my computer and I sit there and I type away while they're doing whatever they're doing. And I look like a geek, to all the others. So, and then I do my social media at night. So after they go to bed, I'll probably try on my phone, and I'll quickly, so the whole idea of social media, I still laugh at it when they say, create a content plan. I'm like, I have no time for a content plan. It happens, every night. And as such, it means that I react to whatever the day is, the daily news or whatever's happened, which actually makes it really current and tangible. And I think that a lot of people who have content plans probably delegate the content out for somebody to do it, and so that they can go and check up on their content plan. But when you do it yourself, then I don't know, like, you might need it as a guide, but really, if you post what's happened in the day, then that for me generally works.
That is your
but plan. I just try and do it around. I do it around the kids, and I have I now have 10 or 15 people that are a part of what we do, and so there, I can delegate certain things. And I was really also lucky in the beginning, I should say, that I had an AUT intern and contact me, and so she came on board and still is with me. And so she does about 20-25 hours a week. So I had her in the beginning, and she was really, she's great on design, and she had marketing background. So that really helped in the beginning for templates and stuff like that. So there's been definite learning from both of us in terms of, passing over skills to each other. So that was great.
Yep. Do you ever find it really hard managing a family, young kids, as well as a business? It sounds like, you are doing the dance very well, but do you ever get quite challenged by it? Does it come quite naturally to you because I guess, of that corporate structured background?
Yeah. So I have always worked. So I always work. I never worked full time. So I always worked part time. So my hours varied probably at the highest. I think I did 24 hours and maybe 4 days. Actually, at one point when I was pregnant, I did 4 days, down to 15 when I had three under five. So yeah, I think I've always learned. And to be honest, even as a student, like I was a poor student, I used to work a lot as a student. So multitasking kind of came early. I've always done lots of different things and don't really sit very idle very often.
Yeah.
So used to busyness, I suppose.
Yeah. Perfect. So I know a lot of people really are challenged in that initial stage of how to juggle all the things, but I think you've really highlighted it really well. It's just like if you had a job and you would just bring your computer with you, or you do things on the phone, or you do it at night, and you just, look at where the things are being planned, or have a diary and then work around it. So
yeah. And sometimes I get up at 6, so I might get up at about 6 to 7 and lash out a few emails or whatever. I am a huge believer in lists.
yes,
I am a list person every day, and I'm a huge believer. Like, people are like, what app do you use? I'm like, the app is called a pen and paper.
yes,
I write it down, I scratch it off. There's a psychological thing with my pen and paper and with the list. And no app will ever replace that for me. Even though I use lots of different pieces of technology, I still always, my list of pen and paper.
Yep. Yeah. I'm with you on that. There is nothing greater than writing the list and ticking the box off. Yes. And, no app can help you physically tick that and give you that.
It's like little moments of success in your day, every day, just the feeling of accomplishment, by little strokes.
Yes, I'm with you. I completely understand your love for that. So I guess, you're in that kind of, now you're moving into your second year of business, which is absolutely amazing and very exciting times ahead. I guess I'm curious to know, a lot of the women who watch this are thinking about starting, their own business, whether it be service, product, social enterprise, or something completely different. And, they're kind of sitting on the fence. Do you have any advice for that woman who is going to make 2020 their year to go ahead and do this, maybe on how to get started, or any piece of advice that they should know about starting a business in today's society?
Yeah, I just think get off the fence and do it.
Yes.
I'm not really, be decisive, just do it. Like, to be honest, if I'd have sat on that fence, if I don't know what I know now, I still kind of wonder, like, would I have done it? Would I have quit the much easier job, and, would I have done it? And I still think I would have, but you just got to get in there and do it. Just jump in, boots and all.
Yep. Great advice.
Yeah. Like, I mean, you don't overanalyze it.
Yeah. Because otherwise you just get stuck, don't you? And you're never going to know what you don't know.
It's the whole joy behind it, is that it is the unknown. That's the whole point. Like, and if you fail, that's great. At least you've tried. You'll probably do something else because of that failure.
Yes.
That failure will teach you things that doing the same thing over and over again will never teach you.
Yeah. Perfect. Great advice. I love it. Just get out there and go and do it. Now, just a couple, of final questions for you is, one of the visions behind this series is talking about champions of change. And I believe that everyone who I've met with is a champion of change in their own right, whether it be in life, whether it be in their health or relationships or business, and, I guess leading the way and getting out there and just doing it. But what does championing change mean to you?
So it's a philosophical belief in social enterprise, that it's systematic change. I mean, to be honest, I don't really care about the products that we sell, or not to say that I don't care about the classes, but it's about the underlying meaning behind it. So, social enterprise means to me about social equality, treating people with respect, giving them the money, the pay that they deserve, and respecting people. And the environmental component is understanding the resources that exist on this planet. Like, they are limited, they are finite. And for anybody, like, I'm hearing all this climate denying and climate hoax, there is only so many fish in the sea, even though they're reproducing. If you keep taking them all, then they are not there to reproduce. And if we keep taking supply and demand, we are destroying what exists. So the Recreators is very much, it's for me to have a political voice to say that we need to make a difference. So it's quite fundamental to me that it's not about money and it's not about selling things. It is about making a systematic change in the way we do business. And going forward, I want to make sure that in the longer term that we are, an advocate for the living wage, that we are carbon positive, not merely carbon neutral, that we do as much as we can within our business voice to do as best we can for people and planet.
Yeah. I love it. I love the vision. You're the first person who's in that social enterprise space, which I have met with. And, the vision and the inspiration, especially, the time that we're doing this, Australia is going through very large fires. Yeah. And, and there is a lot of communication out there around it. Yeah. And I think it's just a really positive way to be able to talk about it and to have the conversations and to make the difference that's needed. So I love it. Now, Joe, for anyone who is watching or listening to us who resonates with what you're trying to achieve and they have an idea and they'd love to ask for some advice, or maybe, they're wanting to know more about the Recreators or how they can either host a workshop or come along to a workshop, how is it best for someone to come and connect with you?
So everything is online, and I made sure, so one piece of advice is that when you set up a website, put your contact details on. God, I don't know how many websites I've gone to, and it's like info with no phone number and no human name on it. I'm like, oh. So my name and contact details are on the Recreators, both our webpage. We're very active on Facebook, so all our events go up on Facebook. It's probably the most central point because we've got so many events. I don't often put them all on the website because they're through different community centres, but all the events are definitely on Facebook. So you can connect to an event there. You can message me through a number of different channels. So my email is on the website, it's on Facebook. You can connect on Messenger. I'm not a hard person to get hold of. And I do also work for Social Enterprise Auckland. So I am in the space of trying to facilitate anybody who is interested in social enterprise to get out there and do it.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, I really hope that people do reach out to learn more about it or to check out more of what you guys are doing, because I love it, and I think that the world needs a lot more of it. So thank you again for sharing your time with me, for sharing this information, and good luck for this year. I'm sure that there are some really exciting positive things coming your way, and hopefully all of the biggest learning challenges are out the way. Now you get to face the growth challenges.
Yes, yeah. Thank you. Thanks a million, Louise.